after what happened on the weekend, I want to talk about something other than MMA, because this stuff is going to be the death of me. Leon Edwards losing has really, really pained my heart. And you know what? I think it's time to talk about the boxing. Now, as a little warm-up for UFC Manchester, on Saturday night, English time, you know, because boxing's normal, we had a big British bust-up. Well, I wouldn't even say it's a big British bust-up because the two fighters aren't really the best. Well, actually, no, you could call it a big British bust-up because it's two British heavyweight fighters going at it, trying to take each other's heads off. Clean. Now, that fight was none other than Joe Joyce versus Derek Chisora. Obviously, Joe Joyce hasn't had a good year. Coming off the back of 2 losses against Zhilei Zhang, the first one coming by doctor's stoppage due to a massive, massive swelling over his eye, like huge. It was pretty much karma in my eyes because of what he did to Daniel Dubois. He needed something in return, you know. He almost blinded the man. And then in the rematch, Zhilei Zhang somehow knocked him spark out. You know, Joe Joyce is known to have one of the hardest chins in boxing, in heavyweight boxing. And I think the talk over his chin was backed up on Saturday night due to some of the shots that Derek Chisora, well, I can't say his name, Derek Chisora was landing. Now, Derek Chisora is one of those fighters who, you know, you see a top dog fighting Derek Chisora and you think, all right, it's a tough challenge, but it's a dub. You know, Derek Chisora is an absolute slugger. Not the fittest, which we also saw against Joe Joyce on the weekend. He was done after about 4 or 5 rounds, incredibly tired. But he's still a game heavyweight, like very game. And you may look at his record of 35-13 and go, mate, that's an MMA record. He can't be that good. But for some reason, only in the sport of boxing, there's this stigma that not having an O or having a few losses on your record is such a shit thing. And then that equivalates to you being a bad fighter. It really doesn't. Del Boy is a good fighter, but he's 40 years old, all right? And most of these losses coming at this latter end of his career, you know, the later stage. I mean, in his last 7 fights, he's lost 4 of them. 1 to Alexander Usyk, 2 to Joe Parker, and then he got knocked out by Tyson Fury. But he beat a decent opponent of Gerald Washington late 2023, I think. And Joe Joyce coming off the back of 2 losses. This is the perfect matchup, or this was the perfect matchup, sorry, because it's already happened, for each other. Look, the guy loves a war. The guy loves to bang. And oh my, did he bang. Slightly out of context. From the initial bell, you could already tell that Joe Joyce was the better boxer out of the 2 and the fitter boxer. If you've ever watched Joe Joyce, you know he's got a very high boxing IQ. He's fought in the Olympics. He's fought in the Commonwealth. A very seasoned amateur fighter. He turned pro at 31 years old, which is incredibly late to start a heavyweight boxing career. So he had all that time just fighting in the amateurs. And with a record of 16-3, 15 of those wins coming by way of knockout. Incredible, by the way. I mean, Joyce did fight Cash Ali last year, at the start of the year, actually. Anyway, going back to the fight, Joyce was the fitter boxer, and Del Boy was the brawler, the scrapper, which we all knew was going to happen anyway. My only issue with Joyce is he is so slow and so boring. So I was a little bit worried that this fight was going to be a boring fight, and at certain times it was very boring. But what made this fight so entertaining and so fun to watch on Saturday night was, in a weird way, the punishment that Joe Joyce was taking. You know, Derek Chisora's signature overhand right, you know, wild swinging. He was landing countless of these overhands, and Joe Joyce not fucking moving. Joe Joyce didn't budge when he got caught, and then he just kept walking forward and putting the pressure on, backing Del Boy up. But if you have ever watched Del Boy fight before, you know that he kind of likes to get backed up. I mean, it happens because he's so tired as well. But when he backs up, he likes to get into the corner and then throw shots from wherever he wants, really. He's wild. He's wild. And he's wild because he's not very fit. He's not the most talented boxer, but he's so entertaining. There is never a dull fight that he's in. I think it was Usyk's second fight in the heavyweight division. And Del Boy put him through it. Del Boy pushed his paces and actually did quite a bit of damage to Usyk. And I mean, that's a harsh fight to go into in your second heavyweight fight. You know, someone who hits as hard as Del Boy does, that is a harsh fight for Usyk. I mean, obviously Usyk got the job done, but still, that just shows how dangerous Derek Chisora is, even with that lack of, you know, technique, the lack of boxing ability. But that lack of boxing ability all adds up in terms of his scrapping ability. Anyway, Del Boy ends up knocking Joe down, and I don't remember if it was with a jab, but I think it was with a jab. It was a bit of a flash knockdown, but Del Boy somehow just kind of whipped it out of nowhere, perfectly timed this shot, and ended up knocking Joe Joyce off balance and eventually getting the knockdown, putting him miles ahead on the scorecards for me. It was close at the start. Joe Joyce was throwing more punches, landing more punches, but I think Derek Chisora was the man who landed the better punches, the more dangerous punches, the more damaging punches, essentially. And then obviously him grabbing that knockdown over there as well helped him out massively. Anyway, I'm not going to talk too much about the fight, but where does Joe Joyce go from here? Where does Derek Chisora go from here? Now, Derek Chisora is a slightly easier one. He's got 2 fights left on his contract, and I think he wants to fight in Africa for one of them, and then I don't know what's going on with the next one, but I doubt it will be in the UK. The reason why I doubt it will be in the UK is because he said that this is his last fight at the O2, and I doubt he'll be fighting on a venue that's smaller than the O2. You know, he'll be on big cards, big shows. So that's what's happening with Del Boy. He will retire after these 2 fights. He will not renew his contract. Come on. I think he's taken a little bit too much punishment, and it's just not good for him. It's not good at all for his health. Like, it just won't be a good, clever, smart decision in terms of his future. Let's be real, he probably made enough money off of the Tyson Fury fight anyway, so, and that was at Wembley as well. Now, Joe Joyce, he's come out and said he's going to continue. He's not done from this, all right? This hasn't put him off. This hasn't made him want to retire. But from an outsider's point of view, you know, looking in, he's not going to be able to get another chance at that title. He's not going to have another title run because he's too old. He's 38. Let's be real, it ain't going to happen. Unless he just goes through and steam piles the entire division and then he's set up for a title. But that won't happen. He's just lost twice to Zhilei Zhang, one against Cash Ali, and let's be real, it's Cash Ali. Come on. And now he's just lost to Derek Chisora, who is 40 and at the end of his career. You know, he's retiring in 2 fights' time. I don't know where he goes from here on out. Maybe a fight like a Johnny Fisher would be a good fight for him. But it really depends on who's available, who's there. Because it's just, I don't know, it's risky, man. But really, for the sake of his career, I do not think that he should keep on going. You know what I mean? And for someone his age at 38, losing 3 times in your last 4, it's not a great look, for one. It kind of exposes the fact that he's getting on a little bit and that maybe his boxing ability and his chin strength isn't potentially the same as what it was before, even though he did get caught with about 45 bombs by Derek Chisora. But it just shows that that one perfect punch can break anyone's chin. That chin can crumble. And once that chin has been broken, it's never the same. So yeah, I don't know where he goes from here. Do you know what I would like to see, though? I know they're not on the same level anymore. They're at both very different points in their career. Dubois Joe Joyce would be a good one for me. Dubois fighting for a title in September. If Dubois loses, then who has he got to face? I know there's a lot of people out there. I know Jarrell Miller's just fighting Andy Ruiz. If Andy Ruiz wins, which I think he will, Andy Ruiz could be on the table for Daniel Dubois. We've got Johnny Fisher there as well. If he wins his next fight or his next couple fights, then he's in. I know Johnny Fisher's next fight, he's fighting someone who's not really got a high pedigree, a very good pedigree, but that maybe could be the perfect fight for him to, you know, build himself up in the ranks, you know, to actually get in with those top guys. Dubois is quite a step ahead of him in his career. So I don't know. We'll have to see. But heavyweight is looking quite promising at the moment. British heavyweight scene, I don't know about the Americans. I mean, you've got people like Jared Anderson and people like that. But there's a 19-year-old heavyweight in the UK at the moment, and he fought on Saturday night as well. Moses Itama. He's 19, yeah? I'm 19 on Friday, so we're the same age. And he's like 11-0, I think. He just beat Florian Wack, I think his name is. The quickest that anyone has ever beaten Wack. He's 10-0 with 8 knockouts, and he's 19 years old. 6'2.5". His name's not Florian Wack, it's Marius Wack. Now, Wack's lost to Hughie Fury. He's lost to Fraser Clark. He's lost to Dillian White. Dillian White couldn't even get him out of there. Jarrell Miller's knocked him out. Martin Bacoli's knocked him out. Artur Spilka took him the full fight, you know, the distance. Povetkin's knocked him out. And Vladimir Klitschko's beaten him. But no one has beaten him or knocked him out in the time that Moses Itama did. The quickest that he has ever been knocked out. And the kid is 19. Like, come on, man. Understandably, Wack is a lot older now. He's in worse shape. He's 44, but he's 6'7.5". So he had the 5-inch height advantage on his timer and got battered. When I look at Moses, I think he's very small for a heavyweight. Like, very small. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the Alan Babbitt situation where everyone was saying that he's too small. No one's saying it about Itama. And I don't know whether it's because he appears to be a lot better. Boxing ability-wise, he's a lot better. He's a lot quicker. He's a lot sharper. And he's also showed that he can box and take people to the distance. Whereas Alan Babbitt didn't, you know. He struggled in those first 10 fights of his, you know, against Bunts, Tin Cans. He struggled. Whereas Moses hasn't. He's been ironing them out. Granted, Alan Babbitt did iron people out and blah, 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 blah. But he struggled against people like Tom Little. He did knock him out in the end, but Tom Little, come on. But if he's going and beating heavyweights that are 6'7.5", then surely the point of he's too small to be a heavyweight goes out the window. When you look at him, he doesn't look like he packs a big punch, you know. He's not the most hench of fighters, you know. You look at people like Daniel Dubois and Anthony Joshua's and Derek Chisora's. People that size, you know, you'd think that they're the biggest, heaviest hitters, you know. But he is a lot smaller, like a lot smaller, a lot less muscular, but he clearly packs a fucking punch. Anyway, I wanted to talk about him because I'm really excited about his come up and, you know, his career going forward in the future. Anyway, guys, if you enjoyed the video, you know the drill. There will be a link down in the description to my Amazon wishlist. Go and check it out if you want to support the channel, but you don't have to. Anyway, guys, I've been a not-so-combat specialist because I suck. It's 30 degrees in England, so I'm going to go and sunbathe for a little bit. Maybe even do a little bit of exercise as well. Anyway, guys, peace out.